We're kicking things off with our story of inspiration. We meet a local woman who's sharing her experience with cystic fibrosis and how she's not letting that keep her from family time. Fanny Vlahos was born with cystic fibrosis, but was only mildly affected growing up.
So I didn't really have many complications growing up. Not very many of my peers or colleagues, nobody really knew except my immediate family.
Cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive disease. It's a genetic disease that people inherit from their parents, and essentially people with cystic fibrosis have a defect in a channel that's on the cell surface which regulates sodium and chloride exchange. So ultimately this affects the lungs and the pancreas the most, but sometimes there aren't symptoms right away.
For Fanny, her health took a turn when she became pregnant with her son.
Towards the end of my second trimester, I caught pneumonia and I was hospitalized, and then I just took a nosedive and my lungs couldn't recover. I delivered my son. About 4 months later, I was on oxygen full time. I didn't have enough energy to pick him up out of his crib. I started coughing a lot. Mucus was kind of filling up my airways. And then I would start getting fevers.
Unfortunately, during her pregnancy, her lung function declined fairly rapidly. And during her first year of being a new mother, was also dealing with advanced lung disease.
It kind of shook me and it was terrifying. I was fighting my hardest. I was fighting, and I didn't want that to be the end of my story.
About 90% of patients with cystic fibrosis ultimately develop advanced lung disease, and lung transplantation can be a life-saving therapy for them.
Fanny was placed on the transplant list, and shortly thereafter found out she was set to receive donor lungs.
I didn't have much longer on my own, so it was pretty dire for me, and I didn't want to leave that up in the air. In order for me to see him graduate elementary school, see him graduate high school, to be at his medical school graduation, that's okay. If that's what I had to do, then that's what I have to do. Going into surgery, I had a picture of my husband holding my baby. The nurses had taped that picture to my hospital bed, and when I woke up, it was right in front of me on the left-hand side. And I opened my eyes and I was breathing on my own, and I looked at the picture and I just kind of started crying, and it worked.
Over the years, Fanny had a few major setbacks, but ultimately, her health dramatically improved.
Fanny is doing very well. It is fairly typical after transplant to have some bouts of complications.
I felt so proud, and I was so happy that I could be the mother that I wanted to be.
While there's no cure for cystic fibrosis, Fanny is able to work with her doctors to remain on track.
I'm doing really well though, so I'm playing basketball with my son again. I'm living the life that I wanted to live, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm doing really well.
It is a lifelong disease that can be managed with the right mindset and the proper attitude in taking care of yourself.
Being what a mother should be isn't lost on me. I don't take the simple things for granted. I'm thankful for my family. My husband has been the absolute greatest, and most of all my son. I mean, he's the reason why I want to get out of the hospital, why I wanted to breathe, why I wanted to run around and do those things again. So he is all the inspiration that I need to keep living a healthy life.